Now it's time to move to strategic control, okay? According to Kuntz, controlling is the measurement and correction of performance in order to make sure that the enterprise objectives and the plans devised to attain them are accomplished. So, it's checking what we are doing, it's checking the results we are achieving in order to make changes so that the goals we were intended to be following in fact can be followed. Okay, so the thing is that whenever we control anything in real life, whenever you consider controlling is always comparing reality with expectations. Okay, so in strategic control, we are comparing the reality of a strategy with what we expected from our strategy. Okay, we are checking what we are achieving with what we expected to achieve. The thing is that not just the results have to be analyzed. It's not just checking the results. Okay, no, which has been our return on assets, our return on equities, and so on, our return on investment. No, it's not just that. We are controlling that, obvious. Okay, so the results of each term, the results of the year, that, okay, yeah, obvious, we are controlling that. That are being put into practice, that are being performed, okay, in order to implement the strategy. So the things we are doing in order to implement the strategy. So even if you see that control, strategic control, is at the end of the strategic process, you can see it at the right side, okay? This is the control of the results and of the implementation, but we can also control if we are carrying out the external analysis properly, carrying out the internal analysis. Any activity that the company performs can be controlled. We can check if it's being done adequately or not. But, well, we are dealing here with mainly with the final control and the control of the implementation. Now we are going to describe this. So, control requires measuring results, measuring what is really happening, and comparing it with the expectations, being it the goals, the standards we fixed, and so on. So let us say, okay, our goal for this year was achieving a 5% of return on equities. Now we have achieved the 7%. That's controlling, okay? And, well, what happens if we are not getting the goals we expected? Well, there are three possible situations when we control. Okay, so first situation, we are getting exactly what we expected. So we are fulfilling exactly our expectations. We intended to do this, we are doing this. We intended to achieve this, we are achieving this. Great, great. Okay, we have been really good at planning and also at setting our goals and so on. This is magic. Okay. We are underperforming our expectations. Well, this is the second situation, underperforming. Well, we need to look if, first of all, it was the implementation, I mean, we have not put into practice the strategy in the right way, or if it has been the strategy itself, the strategy is not adequate for the situation, it's not suitable for the situation of the context or so. Okay, but we need to carry out some corrective actions. And the third possibility is if we are overperforming the expectations. Imagine that we check, we say, okay, we expected to do this in 4 months, we have done it in 2 months. So, do you think that anything should be done in that situation? I am being a bit dramatic about this. The right answer is yes. Yes. We need to know why we have overperformed the expectations. And we need to know it in case we can replicate it, in case we can do it again in the same way. Okay, so why have we overperformed the expectations? Because some workers of our company are especially efficient and we didn't know. Okay, that's great. We should know who. Okay, I remember Mikhail Gorbachev was the latest, USSR president. Okay, and he made this politics called glasnost, which was a transition from traditional communism to a more market economy and so on. So in fact, Mikhail Gorbachev used to say that amongst his economical assessors, okay, so the people who were helping him and so on, there was one good one, but he didn't know who, because the information came all together to him. So, okay, if you have got one good person, you need to know who. So, if you are overperforming the expectations, you need to know. It's possible that you had set really low expectations. Wow, okay, nothing to say. But another possibility is that you are doing it especially well because you were ignoring something. You had something really good inside, or the environment is helping you, or something like that. Okay? So, there are two main kinds or moments of strategic control. These things are related. We can control the strategy itself, and we can control the implementation. The strategy itself, well, this is about what we studied about shootability. Is the strategy still shootable? I mean, does the strategy still fit the context, the internal and external context? So it has to be something permanent. We need to check the fit of the strategy, of the current strategy, with the internal and external context. So it's carried out permanently and also can be carried out beforehand. Before anything wrong happens, okay? So it's not, okay, my performance is poor, so that No, better, we have to check it permanently, or yes, my performance is poor in a term, so what happened? Okay, so we don't need to know for really bad signals too. Another thing is controlling the implementation. Okay, we have a strategy, we are putting it into practice. Are we putting the strategy into practice according to the plans we set or no? Okay, remember that in the strategic plans we had the action plans and for the functional areas and so on. Okay, are we following them or not? It checks the implementation, if we are doing the things in the way we were expected to, in order to detect wrong actions or behaviors. Okay, it always has to be done afterwards. I mean, you cannot do this before putting the strategy into practice. You have to do it after putting the strategy into practice. Okay, strategic control is a process and it has to fulfill its own specifications. So we are going to do it in this way. Okay, so somehow we have to control the strategic control process. It has to follow a process, okay? It has to provide accurate and timely information to check each area, unit, or department. So if we are checking an area, a specific area, so we need to get accurate information and the information in the moment when we need it. If it's late, then there's nothing to do about it. If it's too soon, sometimes there's also nothing to do, but you can save it for later, okay? And the control process has to be flexible enough to face some unexpected situation. So a good control process has to be at the same time effective, so achieving the goals, but further than that, has to be efficient. I mean, doing it at the lowest possible cost. Okay, so strategic control has got 4 stages. We are going to deal with 2 of them mainly because, well, the first stage, results measurement, right now. Okay, then the design of an information system. Again, I am going to tiptoe into this. I am not going to get really deep into this. Why? Well, you have got a beautiful subject called management information system. Okay, full subject dealing with this, so it's not about getting too deep into this. Okay, then we are going to analyze which are the systems to control internal units in another video, and finally there comes decision making. After getting the results, after controlling, after what do we do? Well, decision making is about the feedback process. I mean, we start again making a new strategy or not, or we keep the current strategy. Okay, that's it. So results measurement. The goal of the results measurement is measuring the goals. Obvious. I mean, the goal, or how do you define a green jacket? A green jacket is a jacket which is green. Okay, results measurement is measuring the goal, measuring the results. Okay, so we intend to be measuring how the firm is working according to the strategy implemented. So that's it. Okay, so we carry out something called strategic audit, and strategic audit evaluate the areas affected by the implementation of the strategy. Which are the areas? So if we have carried out a strategic plan in order to increase the sales, we are obviously evaluating the performance of the sales department. If we are carrying out a strategic plan in order to increase the performance of our Spanish subsidiary, we are going to evaluate the Spanish subsidiary. That's a strategic audit, okay? So, depending on different criteria, we can classify strategic audits into. Depending on the scope, they can be wide, they can be narrow. A wide strategic audit analyzes many things inside a company. A narrow one is focused on a specific area, on a specific department, or something like that. Okay? Depending on the method, can be formal, can be informal. Informal is something more, well, let's check, but not pay many attention to that. Don't tell the organization that formal means, okay, we are carrying out an audit, you inform the entire organization so people know they have to, there's a process, they have to send you papers, they have to, okay. And the information we gather can be qualitative or can be quantitative. Qualitative information, you know that it's something more subjective, okay? We are not getting indicators, we are not getting values, we are getting impressions. So, normally it's carried out asking questions to some members of the organization which can have a closer knowledge of the implementation of the strategy. So we ask about the suitability, the feasibility, and the acceptability of the strategy. Do you remember these three criteria? Okay, so we are going to ask some people of the organization, okay, do you think that this strategy is really adequate considering the resources we have and so on? Or are we lacking resources for this strategy? That's it, okay? That's a qualitative strategic audit. And then there's a quantitative strategic audit. Quantitative, you use numbers, figures, indexes, ratios, okay, to control things. So which is our return on equities? That, okay, we need that, okay, that's it, okay. So you can use accountant ratios, return on assets, return on equities, earnings before interest, taxes, debts, and amortizations, and so on, okay. Or you can use economic ratios, value creation, if you are creating the value expected, how you are performing in the stock market, and so on. Okay, and there's another possibility. There's a method which is especially interesting, and I am going to develop it a bit more, which is the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard, if you consider the accountant ratios or the economic ratios, okay, they stand for the entire organization, or at least the entire business unit. The performance of a business unit or the performance of an organization. But what about the balanced scorecard? The balanced scorecard is going to be just a scorecard. You create a card with different levels in different parts of the organizations, different indicators you have to fulfill. Okay, and every year you check if reality is fulfilling that expectations or not. But let's get a bit deeper into balanced scorecard. The model, the balanced scorecard, is a planning and control tool. Look, if you read the strategic management book of Guerras and Navas, it says that it's a control tool. Well, it's a control tool, but it's also a planning tool. Why? Because you need to develop plans and then you need to control them. I am going to tell you, okay? It was created by Kaplan and Norton in 1992, and finally the scorecard itself, okay, creates a bunch of indicators we have to check yearly in order to know if we are achieving the goals of different perspectives. In the balanced scorecard, we are not just considering financial goals. We are considering 4 levels of goals. Which are the 4 levels? Okay, well, the performance for the shareholders. This is called financial level, financial perspective. Obviously, any company needs to fulfill performance goals. So financial perspective. Customer perspective. How customers see the firm. If they like it, what they like it, or no, okay? Internal processes. Which are the internal processes of the company in order to serve the customers in order to get the financial goals, okay? And finally, learning and growth, okay? Which are the capacities, the skills, the knowledge we need to improve in order to carry out the internal processes so that they can fulfill the needs and expectations of customers and shareholders, okay? This may not sound too obvious. Let me go ahead a bit. For each of the perspectives, look at the left side. So, financial perspective, caring about the shareholders. This company, this is an example of a company. I'm not going to tell you which, okay? But they say, okay, which are our financial goals? Because the first thing we have to set is the goals. Okay, we need to lower our costs. We need to increase profitability, and we need to increase revenues. Lowering costs and increasing revenues, if you see it, if you have a look at it, they impact on increasing profitability. Okay, these three are the financial goals we are assuming. Okay, and in order to get there, we need to do something in the face of the customer. Well, in order to lower costs, customers are not relevant. Yes. And so in order to increase profitability, directly customers are not relevant. But in order to increase revenues, customers are really relevant. Which are the goals we have created in order to satisfy our customers? To lower wait time in order to improve customer retention. So if we reduce the wait time and improve customer retention, then we are going to increase the revenues of the company. Which internal processes are we going to carry out? Okay, we are going to increase the efficiency in order to lower the cost, and in order also to lower the cycle time. If we reduce the cycle time, we will reduce the wait time. And as organizational skills or capacities, which are the goals? We need to improve our knowledge and skills to reduce the efficiency, and we need to improve the tools and technology we are using to improve the efficiency. So, these are the goals we are setting in each of the perspectives. Is it clear? So, first of all, for each of the perspectives, we need to set goals. Then, after setting the goals, comes setting indicators. Okay, lowering the cost. And how do we measure the cost? Okay, in our case, we want to measure the efficiency. How do we measure the efficiency? Okay, we are measuring the efficiency through, let us say, dividing the output by the input using this specific formula. Okay, increasing the revenues. How are we measuring the revenues? This is much easier. Okay, but this has to be done in any of the goals at each perspective. For instance, when we say, okay, at the internal process perspective, we need to lower the cycle time. How do we measure the cycle time? Okay, it's the time that happens from when we receive the raw materials, until when the claims of the customers can be satisfied. Okay, we define how we are going to measure it. We create the indicators. Then we state some levels for that indicators. Okay, so we say, okay, the cycle time has to be, as an average, lower than 10 days. Okay, 10 days. The cycle, okay, for each of these indicators, we set the level we need to get. For instance, improve customer retention, which is the level we consider acceptable, and 95% yearly. Okay, 95%. But we have to set a level. Okay, then we measure reality every year, we compare it with the level, and if we are fulfilling it, great, and if we are overperforming it, remember that we can do some things, but, okay, anyway, we perform some actions after knowing what has happened. Okay, so we have overperformed expectations, great, okay, how can we empower this so that in next years it happens again and again and again? Okay, we have underperformed the expectations. We analyze the company and we create some actions so that next year the goals, the indicators, etc. can be fulfilled. Okay, I hope you have understood. Obviously, you can ask me whichever question. This is how this balanced scorecard model works. And let me tell you that in Spanish, it's not, the translation is a good translation because it's not literal. Okay, it's called cuadro de mando integral. And this model is very popular and frequently used by many private and public organizations in order to set, well, this scorecard, so in order to be able to control every year the performance of the organization. Well, in this block we are also studying a bit, we are also thinking about the information system. The information system provides the firm with the information needed in the adequate way and the adequate moment. Okay, which are the functions of an information system? Well, it can help. We are thinking about control. Okay, it can help to measure the results of the company. It can help to gather internal and external information, and it can help to detect internal and external changes. Well, we have something called competitive intelligence system, and it's designed in order to provide quantitative and qualitative information about the environment, about the competitors, about the pest analysis, the political, economic. Okay, a competitive intelligence system is a system, an information system, which gathers external information, quantitative and qualitative, so that the company can analyze better the environment and the evolution of the environment. And, well, if you want to know more things about the information system, please study the subject called Management Information Systems. And, well, the second part is over, and there will be a third part.